Well, thanks so much for joining us. Your home isn't just where you live. It turns out it may be one of the most powerful financial tools that you own. This segment of Making Sense, we're sitting down with local Northern Michigan realtor Jaimie Fellows-Garno and breaking down what home equity really means, smart ways to build it faster, and which home improvement projects can add the most value to our homes. Whether you're a new homeowner or planning your next big project, these insights can really help you make the most of your investment. Jaimie, thanks so much for joining us. And we are going to learn a lot and we're going to cover a lot, right?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Mark.
All right. So before we start talking about home equity, like we all know what it is, explain to me in simple terms, what exactly is home equity and why is it important?
Sure. So home equity would be the difference between what you owe on the home and what the market value or the appraised value of the home would be. So
Okay.
that difference is your equity.
Okay. All right. Very good. So if it's with that in mind, how does a bigger down payment impact the equity that we have in our home?
Sure. Well, a bigger down payment affects it in as much of a way as the amount you put down. So if you put down 10%, then you at that point would have 10% equity. With some loans, it's really important if you could put 20% equity down, then you would actually skip out on PMI, which is mortgage insurance. So in some ways, it's even a bigger benefit in that respect.
So if we put down a bigger, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
if we put down a bigger down payment, we're further along in actually building equity in our home. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Yes. The more money you put down or the higher you can raise that value is just going to continue to improve your equity.
Okay, so we would all love to have a huge down payment and instantly or have a no payment at all, just pay off the house, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But if that's not the case, there are ways that we can build equity. If maybe we don't have that massive lump sum down payment, can we build equity faster by making extra payments? Does that help us build equity faster?
Yes.
Mortgage payments.
Yes, absolutely. It builds equity faster and it also will knock down the amount that you owe. So ultimately, you're not paying as much interest over the length of the loan, too. So it kind of does two things to benefit you.
Does it really? We hear this all the time. We just make an extra payment. And like sometimes that's not easy to do. But can even a little extra payment really make a difference over time?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say that, and the numbers change all the time based on interest rates and such. So I don't want to give exact amounts, but it's been said that anywhere from 5 to 7 years can be knocked off if right away you started by paying one extra payment, a principal payment. So that's not including taxes and insurance, just your principal payment over the course of the loan. So, I mean, you could potentially take a 30-year mortgage and turn it into a 25. And, if you even did more than that through time, imagine how significant that could be.
So really, and I'm kind of drilling down on this because I think this is something that it sounds like it does really make a difference and it is potentially doable. So if you're saying, well, I can't make 2 mortgage payments this month, but over the course of a year, if you took 1/12 of every month's mortgage payment and then at the end of the year made that one extra payment, it can knock years off the loan. Is that what? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
knocking time off knocks that interest. Because if the most depressing thing for a lot of people, unless you're probably a bank, is when you're buying your house and they hand you that piece of paper that says, and in 30 years you will own the house and this is how much you will have paid for it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's always an eye-opening number. So
absolutely,
if you shrink that time down a little bit by making that extra payment, or it doesn't even have to be in an entire extra payment each month. You can pay a couple $100 or $100 more a month.
Yeah, $100 a month. Just the important part is to put it when you're making your payment to apply it towards principal. But even if you were to do $50 a month, I mean, every different or every amount changes that end result to the better. So, $50 might not seem like a whole bunch now, but $50 times 30 years of interest is now potentially thousands of dollars that you've saved off of making that payment.
That's one of those your future self will thank you kind of things.
Yes.
But yeah, okay, good to know. Like the payoff, it's long game, it's chess, not checkers. But
Mhm.
you'd be surprised if you and I do this, and it's not a lot. Uh, but once you get that new payment of at $100, it just becomes the new payment.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like, oh, and here's another extra $100. You just kind
Mhm.
you kind of, if you can, you budget it. All right. So that's one way to kind of accelerate our equity accrual in our home, right? Make some
Yeah.
extra
Yep.
payments, get that amount we owe, amount it's worth to change a little bit. Another approach, perhaps in the formula, is to make some improvements around our house. Can
Mhm.
that help us build equity?
Yes, significantly. Yes. Yeah. Home improvements is that would probably be short of dumping a bunch of money physically down on
Mhm.
your mortgage would be the best way to gain equity.
And kind of a fun thing with home improvements is even
Yeah.
if you're not putting those in there to sell it, you still get to enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you get the benefits.
right, right. All right,
Mhm.
so we've got a laundry list here of things that you can and should or shouldn't do. So let's break them down into small, manageable chunks, one at a time. So
Sure.
again, these are things that may give you a higher return on investment, especially when it comes to our interior. So things that we should consider: kitchen remodels. They can be super expensive, or they don't have to be super expensive. But is that a good place to put our money in order to improve our equity?
Yes, absolutely. Kitchens are probably, I mean, they say that's the heart of the home, right?
Right.
So when somebody is buying a home and they're, for resale value or for equity overall, I would say the kitchen's probably one of the most important. And you can do small changes. It doesn't always have to be drastic things, changing out countertops to make them more modern or new appliances, things like that really just help the overall look of the kitchen, which then inadvertently gives more equity.
All right. So, Jamie, let me ask this: you're a realtor, right?
Mhm.
You walk people through houses, right? When the kitchen is like chef's kiss, pardon the pun,
Yes.
but when the kitchen rocks, is that an easier house to sell?
Absolutely. No
Really?
question about it. Yep. Absolutely. Kitchens and bathrooms also tend to be the two things that people are most
Yes.
scared of tackling
Mhm.
themselves too. And they also can be the most expensive things to upgrade overall. So keeping those up to par with the
Right.
trends and all of that just really helps in your overall value.
All right, so go ahead and tackle the kitchen. You kind of mentioned it there, bathrooms. Pe-
Yeah.
uh, People like nice kitchens and nice bathrooms, right?
Mhm.
So, what kinds of things can we do to our bathroom that we get a little return on investment?
Sure. I mean, we always laugh about seeing carpet in bathrooms, removing carpets in bathrooms, updating the blue tub from the 70s, things like that really, really help to just boost the overall joy of using the bathroom and the look of it, but also the equity. A new bathroom will definitely bring you more return on your investment.
All right, we do need to throw a disclaimer out there for those because there's somebody that's watching this right now that is like, I absolutely love the carpet in my bathroom, and look at that
Right.
stuff, it
Yes.
rocks. Hey, to each their own. But again, you're decorating for equity, right? Okay.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Something that is not as much fun as like a flashy kitchen and a bathroom upgrade, but something that a lot of people end up putting money into: energy efficient upgrades. If we have a house that's 20, 25 years old, it may not have some of these upgrades. Are things like smart thermostats and new windows, they're not jazzy, but do those make a difference?
Yeah, and two, if we're thinking of even a while you're living there, what the benefit is. I mean, ultimately, you put new windows in, and that extra $100 a month you're saving in your heat bill, you could apply towards your equity. So all of those things, in terms of things that will save money in the long run. Yes, there's an out of pocket expense in the beginning, but if you're going to be in your home for a long time, those things can really add to your overall pocketbook. And so it allows you to not only gain equity but also keep more money from your daily
Right.
life.
Again,
Mhm.
future self thanks you, right?
Yeah.
All right, what about flooring? Flooring
Mhm.
to me seems like one of those things where you can spend a great deal on flooring, right? Like
Mhm.
flooring can be expensive, or sometimes you'll walk into some place and you'll be like, I love this floor. And then they are like, oh, I got it. Like they're kind of hush hush about how good a deal it was. Can flooring add that pop, increase our equity, and at the same time, maybe potentially make it more appealing to a buyer?
Yes. So flooring, I think, comes in all different price points,
Mhm.
and it doesn't always have to be really expensive to make a drastic change. One of the hardest things to sell, I would say, is a house that has, you know, dirty floor coverings or floor coverings that are ripped up or pulling apart. You see a lot of the flooring now that's the snap together that is pulling apart. And for not a very big cost, you can really change the whole look of your house by flooring and paint. I mean, those are probably the two most common things that I notice people do to change the whole look and
Yeah.
modernize the home.
Well, and that's one of those things where, like, again, from a buyer standpoint,
Mhm.
it's one less thing that they don't have to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I imagine that these days, with home prices the way they are and the market the way it is, sometimes a lot of people are putting all of their money to get into the house. They don't have and then we're going to spend twice what we paid for the house to redo it, right? They want it to at least be livable or nice for a while until they maybe tackle some of these things. So go ahead and take care of the
Yes.
floors
Yeah.
out there. All right, so those are the inside things. We're going to decorate the kitchen. We're going to jazz up the bathroom. Uh, from the exterior, what about things like landscaping? Maybe not a great time of year to tackle a big landscaping project, but does landscaping increase the equity in our homes, or can it?
Yes. Yeah. I think even more so than the equity, curb appeal is going to just bring more desire to the overall home. So when
Okay.
somebody pulls up and the house just has that feel of, wow, this is beautiful, it's going to attract more buyers. And when you attract more buyers, you tend to, get a better offer.
Mhm.
And so therefore you're going to boost your equity immediately with that higher offer. So yeah, definitely having outside curb appeal and landscaping and things like that definitely help.
Okay, so we're gonna rapid fire through some of these. So curb appeal, exterior paint or siding refresh. That can be expensive, but same kind
Mhm.
of thing where if it looks good, if it pops, and it also increases the value of that house should it hit the market. Is that true?
Yes.
All
Yep.
right, new front door, garage door.
Yeah, and even some of that could just be a fresh coat of paint on those. They don't necessarily have to be new, but just something that's, more modern or has a bold feel.
All right, so a can of paint, not that expensive. A new roof, kind of expensive.
Yes.
How do we, as a homeowner, how do we decide? Yes, we're going to spend the money to replace the roof.
Sure. So I think that's protecting your investment completely, right?
Mhm.
That is a very roof and foundation. I think those are both really, really important things that above all else need to be considered because future damage can come by not taking care of those things. So I find that most buyers, when they see that there's a new roof, there's a level of comfort that comes along with that. And so I think, in terms of equity, a roof is a really good place to start if you have a concern with it and you have an amount of money that you can spend
Mhm.
on remodeling, the roof is always a really good place to put that money.
And like if you were to sell your home, the building inspector is not going to give a comment about the blue bathtub,
Yes.
right? But
Exactly.
if you have a bad roof, you're either going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it at the inspection, right?
Yeah, and then you pay for it even more in your homeowner's insurance, you
Oh,
know?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a trifecta.
All right. So we went from the roof, we're going down to the foundation. What about finishing a basement or an attic? And this one I've heard through the years, like yay or nay, whether that paid off. Is that a good idea?
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, adding square footage is what
sure.
you're ultimately doing, and so from an appraisal standpoint, the more square footage you have, it's really easy. That is a very clear way to add immediate equity is by doing, finishing any living space that is able to be finished.
And probably cheaper than adding like an
Yes,
addition. Like that's
yeah.
definitely you already got it enclosed. Outdoor living spaces, decks, patios, screened in porches.
Yeah, so I would say through the years, this is something that I've seen kind of trending as a new thing that
Mhm.
really builds equity and also builds desirability. is like creating an outdoor living space.
Mhm.
People tend to use that a lot more, I think, now than they ever have, creating the fire pit areas and just, pretty spaces to be outside and enjoy northern Michigan. So those tend to really, not only do they bring equity, but again, they bring that desirability to a buyer.
Because everybody can picture them, whether they've ever sat by a campfire. When you go look at a house, you're like, oh, it'd be so nice to sit by
Yeah.
that campfire, whether you
Mhm.
ever have or not. Big things like HVAC plumbing systems. Are those kind of
Yeah.
like roofs where, like, if it's new, it not only does it improve the equity, but it also, somebody who's looking at your house, they're like, that's nice, right?
Yeah. Same concept.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. All right. Some quick wins, quick, easy, cheap things. Since if we're not replacing furnaces, fresh paint. Good
Yeah,
idea.
fresh paint is, I mean, that is probably the quickest way. Just make
Mhm.
sure that you are a decent painter, because I have seen that go the opposite way with people who think they can paint.
We all think we can paint, but yeah,
Right. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. And stick to those neutral colors. Light
Mhm.
fixtures. That's one of those things where when you walk into a house and it has a strong light fixture game, like, it's kind of cool, right? Like, you're kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, they nailed it with that one, right? And that you can spend a great deal of money, but you can also get really cool, funky, fun stuff uh, at a pretty decent price, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And cabinet hardware, same kind of thing.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, really, you don't have to spend a lot of money on those types of things, fixtures, light fixtures, hardware. I mean, anymore, there's such a vast array of
Yeah.
different types that you can buy that are affordable that really can change the look of the home without doing very much
All
or
right.
spending very much.
So we have all these cool things now in our house. Does regular maintenance affect our equity?
Yes.
How?
If you took two homes, cookie
Mhm.
cutter, built 10 years ago, one has been really well maintained, cleaned, the paint isn't scuffed up, the
Mhm.
floor has been well cared for, versus the exact same square footage, there is just a great deal of difference in what the equity would be in terms of being able to list and have people move in and be willing to pay more because that house has been well maintained. Mhm.
So, and not to be it's kind of like a car, right? It's
Mhm.
same thing, like a rusty car that's never been washed, and you still have French fries in the back seat. Not going to hold the value as the same thing. So take good care of
Yeah.
your toys when you
Mhm.
have them. Can the housing market itself? We talk a lot. A lot of this stuff seems to that we've talked about is to may make your house more appealing on the market.
Mhm.
But can the housing market itself impact our equity?
Yes, absolutely. It has a huge impact. I feel like that most people have gained a significant amount of equity without even knowing it, with the market trending up as it has for the past several years. So people who've been in their house for a very long time, sometimes are so surprised when I go there and tell them what the value is, because they really haven't done much, but the market itself has went up in such a way that they have really increased their equity. So yeah, I think that without doing anything, that has the biggest impact. And it can also go to the negative, unfortunately. And that's why it's really important to maintain your home, try to put down a down payment, build some of that equity up. So if we have a market shift that's, let's say, 10%, but you're at a 30% equity, then you can still sell your home or transition if you need to. But there are times when people don't have equity and they've not done anything to gain it, and then we have a tip in the market and they're underwater, and that's kind of what creates some negative equity that causes problems when people go to sell.
Yeah, and yeah, riding from way on the outside looking in, everybody, you want that equity because you're gonna even when you sell and move, you still have to move somewhere else, right? It's
Yeah.
not like your house is the only house that gained in value.
Hmm.
Everything else you go to has also gone up in price.
Yeah,
So take it.
exactly.
All right. So we want equity in our home. That makes us feel good, right? Uh,
Hmm.
do we refinance to build equity? And if so, how do we do that?
Sure. Well, you could refinance to build equity by taking a shorter term.
Okay.
So, adjusting from a 30 to a 15-year mortgage, hammering down on those payments so that you build more equity up. Another thing that a lot of people do, and I've worked with a lot of investors where they've built up enough equity in their home, let's say a couple $100,000, and they want to buy a hunting property or they want to buy an investment property. So they use their equity in their home as leverage as a down payment or to buy out completely another property or investment to, make their portfolio better and stronger. So there's a lot of ways that you can use that. And also, I mean, let's say you needed that new roof and you had a bunch of equity and you didn't have the cash available. You could get a home equity line to put your new roof on. So there's a lot of ways that you can use that equity outside of just holding on to
Now, this is way oversimplified.
it.
Okay. So refinancing, going to a shorter loan.
Yes.
Okay. In many ways, correct me if I'm wrong, in many ways, is that similar to like making an extra payment like we started off our conversation with, in that you're paying off the loan faster. So overall, you're going to pay less. Is that simple?
Yeah, significantly less. I mean, if you're taking a 13-year mortgage a 30-year mortgage and paying interest over 30 years versus changing that and doing a shorter term, I mean, you're knocking tens of thousands of dollars off of your mortgage by taking that shorter term. Mhm.
But typically, and it's funny because as far as I know, neither one of us are bankers, and we're going to get into a banking question here, right? If a 15-year mortgage is for the same dollar amount, your payment's going to be sometimes significantly more than the 30-year mortgage, right?
Yeah, it is. But I
Okay.
think sometimes people are surprised when they really look at what the difference is, and again, that's on a sliding scale based on what the mortgage payment is, and what the price is.
Mhm.
But it's not always as staggering as people think. And so that is, I mean, and some lenders, and I can't speak for all, but even have certain ones that you can pick. So maybe you can do a 25, maybe you do a 20. And just even those little changes can make a really big impact over the life of the loan.
All right, so this is where the gentleman at the credit union would
Yeah.
say, come in and talk to us about it, because they'll run the numbers for us.
Yes.
Because especially interest rates, you can walk around and see everybody that has a 3% interest rate, right? Those people know who they are, right?
Oh yeah.
But sometimes it does make sense, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to refinance down to a lower rate. So don't come talk to me. You can probably talk to Jaimie, but actually go talk to your financial institution as well to have them run the numbers, because you do have costs associated with that refinance, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a certain tipping point where maybe it doesn't make sense with the cost to refinance, that it's better just to stick with your loan and try to make more payments and go about it that way, just through your principal. It's not always best to refinance.
All right, but go talk to somebody that knows a lot more about this than
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
do. So you had mentioned borrowing against the equity in your home. So we have this equity in our home, which has value. Can we borrow it, and does it make sense to do that?
Yeah, I mean, making sense, I guess, is up to the person who is pulling
Sure.
out their equity. But certainly, there are very good ways to use your equity to your advantage, to build your real estate portfolio, to do repairs on the home, to start a new business. There's a lot of different ways that I've seen people use their home equity. I think the hard part is I've seen it also used to the negative, where they're buying more frivolous things or things that don't that they're going to not hold value the same as their home equity itself would have, and then now they're further behind on their equity because they
Yeah.
have this extra payment. So I
So
mean, I
you,
feel that it needs to be used appropriately if you want it to really serve a good purpose.
yeah, treat that like an investment. Like,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
it's not a slush fund, right? Is it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
take
your
that.
home is essentially, for most people, it's the
Mhm.
the largest financial purchase and
Right.
can also be the greatest investment that you make in your life. So to treat that as such so that you can have financial freedom later on.
All right, Jaimie, this has been eye-opening. And again, if you have a blue bathtub, like, God bless you, right?
I've
maybe
seen people make them work really cool,
that's
actually.
right,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, I think I'm on the no carpet in the bathroom kind of thing, because that can be tough, but it does feel good on the feet, but it can be tough to keep. Jaimie, anything else you want to add?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity.
Jaimie, thanks so much, everybody. We'll catch you for the next segment, and enjoy your house and make good decisions. Thank you much. All right, let's see.